Well, with our safety basically secured now for next season, we can start looking towards next season. So I don't really know what to talk about in these next few episodes. Hello, welcome to Season 2, Episode 15 of Race to the Top. I'm Ian, and in today's episode, we've only got just over a fortnight before what looks to be a rainy Guildford race, which is, of course, the very first track we ever raced on in this series. One thing that I am quite looking forward to in this race, as you can see, the engine, the suspension, and rear wing are all really crucial. And if we have a quick look at our car, those three things are probably amongst our best. You know, we admittedly deceleration and the low-speed corners, the front wing are a lot higher up than the suspension and the rear wing. But as you see, look, 6th, 7th, 6th, you know, and of course the engine, look, is quite high up. So I really sort of think we could probably get some points out of this race. That's easier said than done, as we all know. Let's quickly do this question, though, from Natalie Pinkham. Simple question: which one of your drivers is best? They like to do that, don't they? I think I might have to go with Danny Kvyat there, and that's going to really help him because he's now got his morale was very, very low, so that's really helped him. But yeah, so what I'm hoping for with Guildford, if we can pick up a couple of points, that would really help us. Because although safety is pretty much a guarantee, as you can see, we are on 9 points. We can sort of relax a little bit. I don't think Rapax are going to be closing us down. Haas potentially could, but we're pretty much safe. We're definitely going to be finishing no lower than 9th, and we're only 3 points away from Renault, so points aren't totally out of the question. That'll be enough to enable us to bump ahead of them. Now, we have finished the reliability from the previous race, so what we can do is we can start having a look now at what else we can improve. I'm going to keep working on those brakes, because from memory, the brakes are going to be crucial for Milan, so maybe we could even jump that. We could go back and start worrying about the brakes after this race. I might do that, actually. So let's just totally remove everything and start fresh, because they're pretty much done. Suspension's not going to bump up that much more. Same with the engine. We could bump that one up. And the rear wing, of course, was the other one. So we really need to improve this rear wing. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same. I tell you what, I'm going to leave it on that. Why the hell not? Because we got the spaces. We might as well use them. And we may as well do the suspension and get that one up to 760. And then we'll also do some reliability. The engine is really something that we have to work on, because the reliability is going to be really, really crucial for the engine for this next race. So let's focus on the engine, because 82, 83%, that's a bit on the low side. And maybe even do the rear wing as well. And what we'll do is we'll sort of do 12.8, something like that. And we'll keep going. Now, I believe we get sponsors? Oh, we do get a couple more sponsor slots after this race. I thought we may have had some before Guildford, but obviously not. Now, what is this? We've got another... Is this a dilemma? Or... Oh, no, this is where we can have a potential vote. No, because we need to save all the money we can, so I'm not going to go into that. Let's have a quick look at the pit crew whilst I think of it before we get too ahead of ourselves. As you see, the mistake percentage chances are all quite low. It's not something that we have to worry about too much. What I may do is potentially, could we change Dasu for Consolaro? As you see, Consolaro is not quite as good at fixing, and he's got a 0.1% less chance of making a mistake. So let's swap him in just to give him a bit of a break. Is there someone we could also bring in, say, Fasari for Belladinelli on the rear jack? He's slightly worse off on that rear jack, but again, it just gives Belladinelli a bit of a break, which is pretty crucial. And of course, so that Onka, however you say, was it a she? Yes, it was. However you say her name, she's still got a really, really high chance of making a mistake after that stuff up 2 races ago, in fact. In terms of, let's have a look, see if there's anyone that's worth employing. Doesn't really look like it, does it? No one's standing out at me. I'll reject that one because they're terrible. And I might reject that one, Bazzelli, as well, just to see what other options come available. So, as I say in the intro to this episode, because we don't really have much else to do for the rest of this season, we're just going to try and get as many points as we can, and we're just going to relax. Now, well, there's not really much to talk about. Of course, we're just trying to save as much money as possible so that we can design a great car for the following season. So these next few races, I'm going to sort of just be plowing through the motions, really. We do have to do a little bit of talk about the Guildford race. It's a 53-lap race. Sunday's only showing a 20% chance of rain, though, that's interesting because the previous races were showing 40%, but there was no rain forecast. As you can see, there's rain forecast there, so that could be quite interesting. So if there is a 20% chance of rain, it might not be the whole race. Otherwise, the compounds are super soft, the soft, and the medium, and Mercedes are expected to do very, very well. We've got a pretty good simulator in the HQ, but if we want to catch the top teams, I'm afraid it needs an upgrade. Nope, we're not spending any money because we really need to have all the money for the car. And as you may have seen, what they've obviously started work on, which is something that happened just before I came in, as you can see, they're actually upgrading the R&D facility for brakes, which is not something that I to my knowledge, I didn't have any clue about until the previous episode, and I sort of thought, oh, that's a bit unusual. Why have we got those little black and yellow stripes? So that's actually forecast to be soon finishing in around, I think it's 9 weeks or something, 7 weeks now, about 7 weeks' time. So that'll obviously help our brakes situation a little bit. But I'm quite happy with the factory. I haven't really talked too much about this since we've come to Toro Rosso. I'm quite happy with everything. Everything's quite decent. I mean, we've got a little bit of work on the engine and the front wings only at good, but everything else is epic. Gearbox is great, so we can certainly work on the gearbox. But I see no reason to spend any money on this factory, at least in the short term. Long term, I think we're obviously going to have to upgrade if we want to challenge the top teams. But in terms of consolidating our place in Formula One, I don't think we need to worry about that, and we can go ahead and start building a good car. So this will be Guildford GP, the preview. Here we go. So we are racing on track A, which is the whole circuit, which looks like there's about 50 turns in this track A. So yeah, look, low fuel burn, very high tyre wear. So that's something that we have to be a bit mindful of, very high tyre wear. So we might be worthwhile trying to get through those mediums, particularly if that rain is forecast, because as you can see, race is still showing rainy, very low tyre temperatures. So that's why I sort of think maybe the mediums would probably be the best option, because also we could try and do what I've sort of said in Munich, where we try and go at least half race distance on the mediums. We could possibly squeeze in a one-stopper and then go on to the wets. But of course, Pierre Gasly's got that soft trait. Remember, with his mechanic, where are we? If we can go and find that. There you go. Where is it? No, not the sweeter spots. That one, light-footed, soft tyres. Soft tyres wear more slowly. So that's something that we might factor in. So I may even get Pierre Gasly going onto the softs as well. I'm not going to change the car setup, so Danny Kvyat's still going to have the best car, which that's a gamble because after the last race, Pierre Gasly was very, very unlucky really to finish 11th. And I think if he had, the better brakes and the better rear wing, he could have done fractionally better. But I'm going to take a risk, and we're going to give it to Danny again. But I think this will be his sort of final chance, I think. I think if Danny doesn't do well in this qualifying and this race, then I might shift all the parts over and give them to Gasly, because as you can see, they're both equal status as well. Neither of them are a number one driver or a number two driver, so we can sort of shift parts around a little bit once the season goes on, because what I really am not happy about, but I want to save as much money as possible, because neither of them are terrible drivers, but their contracts last for at least, for Gasly's case, till the end of next season, and in Kvyat's case, another 2 seasons with him. He's a pretty good driver, but he just needs to lose some of these traits, but unfortunately none of them will be going anytime soon. But he's a pretty decent driver. Gasly, I'm not so sure about. He's doing okay, but he can certainly improve, and I think that's something that, he's only 21, so he could improve for next season. He could become a very, very talented driver. So I'm not going to be looking at replacing them anytime soon. But in saying that, if a driver becomes available that I think is too good to turn down, someone like a Hamilton or a Vettel or something, then I may look at doing something like that and getting rid of them. But I'm also trying to save as much money as possible. But let's get into practice. I'll see you for qualifying, which qualifying is expected to be clear. Practice is expected to be cloudy, so we're not going to be getting any knowledge on the wet or the intermediate tyres. Well, that was a pretty good practice session. We're here in partly cloudy Saturday for qualifying here in Guildford. It was expected to be clear. I'm kind of thinking that that's going to stay that way. There certainly doesn't look to be any rain forecast. But as you can see, we managed to do really, really well. I bumped the soft tyres up because I do think that with Gasly, with that trait, I think using the soft tyres makes the most sense. Even though he's not going to be, they're not going to be coming into any use for him going into the qualifying session. See, we can do something similar here. We can do, like, say, sweeter spots and qualifying trim for Gasly. So yeah, look, if we have a quick look at the car setup, they were happy for both. The car balance on downforce, and it was only so-so, but it's not too bad. So what I'm hoping to do is that I'm hoping to be able to go out twice, like we've always done, sort of set an early sort of banker lap, and then go out again right at the death. So that's what we're going to do. Now, whilst I quickly send them out, and then we can wait for them to go around the track, we'll send Kvyat out first, and then we'll send Gasly out pretty much straight after him. In terms of practice, how it went, so we had Gasly right the way down in 14th place, but Kvyat was all the way up in 9th place, which was rather interesting. And he set that on the soft tyres, whereas Gasly went around on the super soft tyres. So that's something that I thought was quite interesting. The super soft tyres are naturally going to be the quickest tyre, but there doesn't seem to be a great deal of difference between the soft and the medium. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of difference. In terms of the teams around us, Team Rapax were 19th and 20th. Don't have to worry about them at all. Haas was a little bit closer to us. They were 16th and 17th, so they were quite close to Gasly's time. But what we are looking at is Renault, because Hulkenberg finished just ahead of what's his name? Danny Kvyat. That's who it was. I couldn't think who it was. Just finished just ahead of him in 8th place. But Carlos Sainz was actually just behind Pierre Gasly. He was down in 15th place. So that's quite promising for us. I mean, we can really, really battle with them and hopefully get a few points. Now, we were the first two cars out, so I was too busy talking, so I didn't actually see what Gasly or Kvyat managed to do with their temperatures. But Kvyat is going purple in that first sector because he's the first one out. So ignore that bit down the bottom there that says Danny Kvyat's setting purple sectors, because Hamilton's just gone fastest in that first sector, as you can see up in the top left-hand of your screen. So we'll quickly cut to Kvyat, who's about to cross the line. He does with a 1:11.8, and Gasly's just behind him, 2/10 down. I'm not too disappointed with that. Gasly's not as good as Danny Kvyat on paper, so I'm quite comfortable with that. But as you can see, Lewis Hamilton's just set provisional pole with a 1:10.3, so that shows how far we are off the pace of those front runners. But what we can do is, in regards to the race strategy, this is going to be a tricky one, because with the rain forecast, I don't really know what we should be aiming for. I decided to go for the soft tyres because they sort of last. They're sort of the medium compound tyre. They're not the quickest, they're not the slowest. I sort of figure we could start Gasly on those tyres and try and stretch out the stint as long as we can. Kvyat, we're thinking of maybe putting him on the mediums, but it does also hinge on where they finish in qualifying, because at the moment you can see they're right down. You can expect to see them drop well below Massa and Alonso. You expect to see them moving ahead as well, as Webber's going to be crossing the line soon also. There he goes there. So we are down in 16th and 18th, but of course we didn't have the great track grip that's starting to happen now. So you could expect to see us potentially move up the field a little bit. But I'm thinking with Gasly quite far down, expecting Gasly, let's say 14th, 15th, something like that. We could put Gasly on the soft tyres and let him just do as many laps, because remember in Vancouver, he was fantastic, wasn't he, on those soft tyres? They just lasted for so long. He went well past half race distance before we had to pit him. So I'm thinking that might be the option. Get him out, just try and do a few laps, try and do a one-stopper, and hopefully he could last until rain, if there is any rain. Kvyat's a bit of a different story, though, because obviously we don't really know where he can qualify. He can qualify anywhere from sort of 9th all the way down to sort of 20th, so we just don't know about him. It takes about 1:25 to get out, so this is why we're sort of sitting a little bit. We haven't really got much to go on. So we will quickly cut to the Renaults, who they're going out very, very early, which could hinder them a little bit, I think. Going out so soon, the track's still gripping up quite substantially towards the end. So this could really, really hurt their chances, and that helps us, because it means that we could potentially, move ahead of them, as Hulkenberg's just going to set his flying lap now. Carlos Sainz is actually quite a way ahead of him. He's already gone green in his first sector, but he's 3/10 down on Vettel's time. Vettel's got provisional pole at the moment with a 1:10.3. There's still 3 minutes left in the session, so I've got no hurry to push these guys out. I'm thinking around 2 minutes, something like that. That's when we're going to do them. As I say, it takes about 1:25 to get around on an out lap, but I don't want to cut it too fine. I don't want them crossing the line, with a second to go, because that's just too risky for me. So Science is staying in 11th, I think. Hulkenberg, he's not improving on his time at all. He's gone white in his first 2 sectors, so can't expect to see Hulkenberg moving ahead of 9th. And we can start looking at sending out Kvyat and Gasly now. I will send out Kvyat again, purely because he was the quickest of the 2. So around 2 minutes to go, we'll send him out. And I'm just literally sitting there watching the time now. Let's do that now. Let's send him out onto the super soft tyres. So he's only going to have 2 spare sets of super soft tyres for the race, which hopefully the rain doesn't come down in sort of multiple times, because then that could really hurt us if we sort of have to use the super soft. Same with Gasly. As you can see, Gasly's only going to have 2 sets as well. So I might just leave Gasly just a little bit, just to build a bit of a gap from Kvyat, because we don't want him being stuck in any dirty air. Now we kind of need to focus on our cars a little bit more. In the first lap that they go around, you can't really expect too much. But also, when you think back to the previous race in Munich, they didn't set the world on fire on their first lap. And then they both really struggled on their second flying lap. So this will be interesting to see what they do, because they need an improvement. With the track gripping up as much as it had, actually, look, it's dying down a bit. There's not as much track grip as we sort of thought, probably because, as you can see, the temperature's climbing, it's still a little bit cloudy, so the track's just not gripping up as much as we thought. As Kvyat's nailed his temperatures for brakes and tyres absolutely perfectly. Gasly's going to be pretty close as well. He's got good brake temps, perfect tyre temps. That bodes well for this flying lap, as Vettel's going purple again, so he's going to possibly squeeze into the 109s here. As there he goes there, he's got a 110.1. As we're focusing on Kvyat, he's not going to be getting pole with a 110.1, that's for sure. He's gone green in that first sector, but he's 5/10 down. But let's not forget, he's currently 1.6 seconds down, so he can improve and still climb a couple of places. But he's doing very, very well. Gasly's also improved. He's 6/10 down, so he's a 10th down on Kvyat's time. Now Kvyat's gone green again in that second sector. A little bit of traffic. I think that's a Team Rapax driver there. But Kvyat's 1.1 seconds down, and this is a bit of a long sort of sweeping curve before this tight little chicane. Kvyat's going to cross the line, and what does Kvyat do? He moves up to 14th place. Not terrible, but not that great either. Gasly didn't improve on his second sector. He did improve on his third, but he will start down in 18th place. Not a great start for him. Carlos Sainz up in 12th. I expected Gasly to be ahead of Webber, but Webber set a brilliant qualifying time. He will start in 13th place. And unfortunately, the Renaults of Hulkenberg and Sainz are now starting ahead of Danny Kvyat and Pierre Gasly. So that's not great for us for the race tomorrow. But of course, there's confirmation. He's been on fire lately. Sebastian Vettel sets pole. Only just. It was only a 10th in it between him and second place Lewis Hamilton, and Valtteri Bottas third with his compatriot Kimi Räikkönen for company. So we start down in 14th and 18th place. That's not that great. Gasly didn't do very well at all. I quite like him during the race, but then it just seems that in qualifying he just doesn't like going out again. He sets a one lap and then that's it. So we've got a bit of work to do tomorrow. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Guildford race. Look, there's not really much to do for the rest of this season, so it's going to be a bit of a boring couple of episodes coming up. But hey, stick around, because something exciting could happen. You never know.